A security camera outside a small acupuncture clinic on Waipahu Depot Street picks up a figure walking toward the building. White bucket hat, dark sunglasses, a face mask, dark clothing, a backpack worn under the jacket, a brown paper bag in one hand. The figure enters the clinic. 48 seconds later, the same figure walks back out. The camera never shows what happened inside. No audio, no second angle, no way to see a face. The figure crosses Waipahu Depot Street. The bucket hat falls off. The figure stops, picks it up, and keeps walking, then disappears from frame. No one else enters that clinic, no one else leaves. For the next 14 hours, the building sits completely still. The next morning, at 8 a.m., a woman drives to the clinic to check on her son. She walks through the back door, and she finds him on the floor, unresponsive, in a pool of blood. If you are new here, welcome. Please like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. It helps more people find stories like this one. Now let's go back to the beginning. Jon Tokuhara was born on February 13, 1974, right there in Waipahu, Hawaii. He grew up in the same town where he would one day build his life and his career. After graduating from Waipahu High School, Jon left the island to study at the University of Portland. He then went on to earn a master's degree in Chinese medicine and acupuncture from the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine. He came home with a purpose. He opened Tokuhara Acupuncture and Healthcare on Waipahu Depot Street and ran it for nearly 20 years. To the people of Waipahu, Jon was not just a healthcare provider. He was a fixture in the community. Friends called him a healer. He gave scholarships to local students. He showed up for people. His friend Elton Escobedo said it simply: Tokuhara was not a homewrecker.
He gave back to his community. My mom was blood, born and raised.
Jon was close to his family. His mother, Lily, was one of his most important people. He was a loving uncle to his sister, Sissy Tokuhara's 2 boys. Friends described him as someone who had friends in every circle, the kind of person who made everyone feel like they mattered. Outside of work, Jon was an athlete. He played baseball, rugby, judo, and volleyball. He surfed, fished, paddled, snowboarded, and rock climbed. In August of 2021, just 5 months before his death, he solo paddled the Kaiwi Channel, one of the most demanding open water crossings in Hawaii. He was unmarried and had no children. At the time of his death, he was in a relationship with a woman named Andrea Irimata. By every outward measure, Jon Tokuhara was a man who had built something real: a business, a reputation, a community that loved him. But behind that warm reputation, investigators would soon discover a side of Jon's life that would change everything about this case. January 12th, 2022 started like any other day for Jon Tokuhara. He was at his clinic on Waipahu Depot Street, seeing patients, doing the work he had done for nearly 20 years. By late afternoon, the day was winding down. At 5:40 p.m., Jon opened the Pokemon Go app on his second phone, a Wi-Fi-only device he kept at the clinic. According to investigators, that app opened and never closed. 3 minutes later, at 5:43 p.m., his mother, Lily, sent him a text. She had cooked dinner and wanted to know if she should pack enough for 2. Jon replied at 6:12 p.m. with 2 words: "Just me." That was the last outgoing text from his phone. 3 minutes after that, at 6:15 p.m., Jon unlocked his iPhone 11 one final time. Next door, a shop owner named Luisito Concepcion was working alone. He had loud music playing through his Bluetooth speaker. He told investigators he heard nothing unusual that evening. When he left at 8:10 p.m., Jon's white Toyota Tacoma was still parked in the lot outside the clinic. Back at the clinic, the Pokemon Go app was still running on Jon's Wi-Fi phone. It kept running until 8:45 p.m., when the battery finally died. Jon never showed up at his mother's house for dinner. Lily waited. She tried to reach him. No response. The next morning, at 8 a.m., she got in her car and drove to the clinic herself. She entered through the back door, which was unlocked, and that is when she found her son. What she walked into that morning would set off one of the most complicated murder investigations in Hawaii's recent history. Lily Tokuhara walked through the back door of her son's clinic. The front door had been chained shut for at least 6 months and was not in use. The back door was unlocked. She found Jon on the floor of his office. There was a pool of blood near his head. He was not moving. Lily called 911 immediately. She was too distressed to attempt any aid. When Officer John Minturn arrived at 8:11 a.m., he found Lily outside in her car. According to his testimony, she was extremely emotional, crying, wailing. Inside the clinic, investigators recovered 3 .22 caliber shell casings. One was on the office floor. One was found underneath Jon's body. The third was behind the refrigerator. On January 14, 2022, Dr. John Gates performed the autopsy. His findings were sobering. Jon had been shot 4 times in the head and face, 2 shots from the right side, 2 from the left. There were no exit wounds. 22 caliber bullet fragments were recovered. 1 fragment had traveled into the spinal bone. According to the autopsy, Jon did not die immediately. Near Jon's body, investigators found $3,900 in large bills. The money was wrapped and labeled with the word herbs. A bloody fingerprint was also found on the entrance to one of the exam rooms. Investigators later attributed it to Lily Tokuhara. She had initially told police she had not touched anything inside the clinic. When detectives first began looking into Jon Tokuhara's murder, they had very little to work with. No obvious motive, no clear suspect. Jon was widely admired. Friends and family could not point investigators in any direction. 2 cell phones were found on Jon's desk, his main iPhone 11 and a Wi-Fi-only phone he used for Pokemon Go. Both were taken for examination. However, according to defense attorneys, the phones were not officially logged into evidence until June 2023, 16 months after the murder. That detail would later become a point of serious concern at trial. Digital forensics on Jon's main phone uncovered something investigators had not expected. Between June 27th and July 23, 2021, Jon had exchanged 5,610 Instagram direct messages with an account called Little Squeeze Me. The messages were intimate, explicit. They included nude photographs and videos. Retired detective Michael Ogawa traced the account to a website called Jessentials.com, a baby products site. The site was registered to a woman named Joyce Thompson. Joyce Thompson was the wife of Eric Thompson, a 34-year-old contractor. She had originally come to Jon's clinic for acupuncture, infertility treatment, and back pain following a miscarriage. Investigators then turned to the surveillance footage. The white 4-door Silverado captured near the clinic on the night of the murder was identified as a 2014 Chevrolet Silverado. Police found 53 matching vehicles registered in Hawaii. They worked through each one systematically, visiting owners, requesting photographs, checking records. 52 were excluded. 1 remained. It was registered to Eric Thompson. On February 1, 2022, police searched the Thompson home. They recovered approximately 12 registered firearms, 2 unregistered weapons, 2 .22 caliber rifles, and over 1,000 rounds of .22 caliber ammunition. None of the firearms matched the murder weapon. 13 days later, on February 14, 2022, Eric Thompson was arrested. He was charged with second-degree murder and carrying or using a firearm in the commission of a separate felony. He posted $1 million in bail and was placed under house arrest. To understand why Eric Thompson became the prime suspect, you have to understand how he and Jon Tokuhara were connected in the first place. Joyce Thompson had come to Jon's clinic for acupuncture. She was dealing with back pain and had suffered a miscarriage. She and Eric were trying everything they could to have a child. An old high school teacher had introduced the couple to Jon and suggested he could help. Eric believed Jon was helping them both, and for a time, it seemed he was. Joyce became pregnant. Their daughter was born